Manus flat on the canvas. We are ready to rock and roll. Second round of action. There is a cut on Manus.
Jesus.
Martial Arts. Yeah.
Like my man B-Hop, who got dropped out the ring last night. I need a little judo baby. I need me a little judo baby, and let's do it, Ron. Let's hit me up.
See you were telling me this. You got a face for radio.
That's got a face for radio.
That's nice.
Martial Arts Chat.
Hello, welcome to the Martial Arts Chat podcast. I'm John Boy McElroy. Before I introduce our guest today, let me first give a shout out to our sponsors, A1 Fight Gear. A1 Fight Gear use the latest cutting edge boxing gloves for professional and amateur fighters, gym enthusiasts and kickboxers. So local and national gyms in the UK, do yourselves a favour and check out a1fightgear.com. And if you're wanting to get into shape, get back into shape, or continue to trim the fat off, so to speak, then go to beastgear.co.uk and use the coupon code MartialArtsChat. You can save 15% off your purchases there. They've got core sliders, straps and barbell pads, complete strength and conditioning programs, all to suit your needs at all different levels. So coupon code is MartialArtsChat and it's 15% you'll save off your purchases there. And so to our guest here today, Chung Practitioner, a coach to the stars, online inspiration for many people around the world, Mr. Bogdan Rosu. Bogdan, how are you, sir?
Hey, John. Great. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And just to pull the curtain back here, Bogdan and I think we've been trying to put this interview together for a couple of months now.
Yeah. Like 2 months at least we were talking about it.
It's just life, I guess, has got in the way. But I'm delighted you're here, sir, and here to share some of your wisdom and also share your thoughts on what we love here, martial arts. So tell us, give our listeners an insight into your life as a martial artist, and obviously, particularly in the world of Wing Chun. Let our people know.
Sure. Yeah, what we basically do, we're based here in Bucharest, Romania, Eastern Europe, and we founded the first ever personal development through martial arts school in the world. Basically, it's a concept where you get the benefits of training martial arts and also the type of training that helps you, let's say, accelerate your progress in your life. Because something that I found was missing in martial arts training was the fact that, okay, you find out how to access your power, you find out how to overcome obstacles that are apparently too big for you, right? Yeah. But then once you get in touch with that power, nobody teaches you what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, yourself working in radio, you know how important communication skills are.
For sure, yeah.
Right? So nobody teaches you, okay, great, you have tons of willpower, right? Nothing can stop you, or you will die on the mat if you have to, right? But how are you communicating that? How are you sharing that skill set with other people? How are you keeping the people who are closest to you? How are you keeping relationships, or how are you building teams of people, right? How are you setting goals? How are you tracking those goals, right? How are you managing your finances? Mm-hmm. So these are all aspects that are super, super important, right? We say healthy mind, healthy body, and right. But I think like complementing both, taking one and adding the other, is the same for like personal development training. A lot of people go to seminars, read books, right? But it's one thing to learn about how important it is to be confident. Mm-hmm. And it's a totally other deal to go into a martial arts school and do confidence with your body, right? And learn it by like, for example, if you train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you get a lot of contact, right, from people, and that kind of confidence literally rubs off on you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same in Wing Chun, right? Wing Chun, once you have a lot of contact, right? It's a lot of enclosed motions and skills in finding short range, and you just get that kind of. If somebody's super confident and you spend a lot of time training with them, just being close to them, that attitude rubs off.
Yeah, absolutely. Wing Chun's an interesting one. For me, perhaps it's an ignorant point of view, but initially I just associated it with Bruce Lee or Ip Man, but more recently I came across, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's Josh Waitzkin's book, The Art of Learning. He compares martial arts and the art of playing chess, which is the world he comes from. But in reading that book, I got a real appreciation for his practitioners were in Tai Chi and in Kung Fu, and the basic things that they're so easy to overlook, like controlled breathing and meditation. And I mean, what's more simple than just gathering your thoughts and concentrating on breath. It really is a simple. Just hearing you talk there, it's almost like you have these simple set of guidelines, but can be so easily overlooked in life. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you mentioned, breathing is such a simple concept, yet a lot of us breathe improperly, right? Natural breathing comes from the stomach, right? You breathe from your belly. I mean, look at babies. They always breathe from, every time they breathe, their belly moves, right? And yet we kind of forget that, and we move our breathing more into the chest, which actually enables more anxiety, more stress.
Right.
And once you remind your body about breathing from your belly, you're less prone to suffering from stress, less prone to worrying, and you just improve your health. Right? There's tons of benefits with breathing from the belly, and yeah, we somehow choose to forget it.
Yeah, bizarre one, right? I mean, so many of us in society that's right, we can just forget how important this simple tool is. Tell me your thoughts, Bogdan, because I know meditation is a big part of what you do. And you mentioned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu there. I train every morning, so for my sins, I'm up early doors. But it's a great benefit to me, because once that I've got that hour out of the way of, battling off whoever I've got on top of me or whoever it is, my comrades, my brothers, I feel like I'm ready to take on the world. It's a great way to start your day. But one of the other substitutes when I can't make jiu-jitsu is yoga, and that's a big part of breathing and meditation. And I know that's part of your world as well. Tell me your thoughts.
I actually started training yoga this month. This would be like my third week of practicing yoga. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's absolutely super, super fun and useful. Yeah, meditation is a huge part of what we teach. It wasn't initially in the school where I learned Wing Chun, and it wasn't much of a big deal even in my previous martial arts schools. But I decided to make it part of the curriculum because it's so beneficial. For example, in my case, I've been training martial arts since I was 13. But despite the fact that I've been training for such a long time, I still felt anxious when, and maybe, some of the listeners can relate to this situation. That feeling when you go into a new group of people, maybe you don't have it so much anywhere, right? But you go into a new group of people, and then you're thinking, oh my God, I hope I don't say something stupid. I hope this goes well, or like in a job interview or some stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you with my hand on my heart that meditation had a huge, huge contribution in terms of accessing my self-confidence in situations like that, right? And just having a better relationship with myself, and knowing what I want, what I don't want, what, and ultimately deciding what my life is going to be about.
Yeah, same. I imagine it to be help with social skills, that kind of thing. It can once you feel confident in your own and again, something that we can take for granted, those listening, like, adhere to this. It's once you can feel comfortable in your own body and confident in it, then you project that, I guess, to everybody else. It's nothing but a beautiful thing. Someone actually I had on recently when we talked about yoga there, I had Sean Veig, SeanVeigFitness.com. He's a personal trainer by trade, I guess. But aside from his philosophy on the simple art of breathing, he implements it as well. It's not just for training, or physical improvement. It's kind of what you're saying, mate. It's a necessity. It's involved in everything you do. I've said a couple of times in the podcast, I think, whether you work in an office or work in customer service or manual labour or teach, whatever your trade is, it's important to find time, even if it's 5 minutes, just to breathe and be with your thoughts, and people do this all the time. I mean, this might sound controversial, but someone, for me, I look at, I don't smoke, but I look at someone who goes for a smoke break. They're taking 5 minutes. Now, obviously, cigarettes are extremely bad for your health, right? If you're listening to this, I am not endorsing the smoking cigarettes. I really am not. But it can be construed.
I like how you. I like cigarette.
Yeah. Well, I had to use that pregnant pause there. Smoking, and I'll go out there on that. But the cigarettes, I mean, let's be honest, it's all those toxins, and it's definitely not good for you. But what is good for you, though, I believe, well, so to speak, is the concentrating of inhale and exhale, despite the toxins. Exactly. Having those moments. I don't know, Bogdan, am I crazy? But I think that goes a long way.
It does wonders for your mental health, right? Not so much for your body, but it does. Taking that break and just taking a few breaths does wonders for your. It's a great way to manage your stress.
Yeah.
And sorry.
I was just going to say, I hear a lot of people when they're trying to quit smoking cigarettes. It's not even the physical addiction itself. It's replacing that. I need 5 minutes to breathe. That substitute, and that's more psychological, I would thought, than physical. Yeah,
and what I've discovered, and I noticed this in people, because I always wondered, when I was a kid, I wasn't a popular kid, right? I was, funny enough, I was voted in 5th class as being the most obnoxious and most annoying kid in class. Yeah, seriously, right? And it just became fascinated by these people who have these magnetic personalities, right? Those people who just draw you in.
Yes.
And it just clicked to me when meditating that what you're doing while meditating is just like you're centering yourself. Those old kung fu movies where the master says, find your center, and you're like, what the heck? What are you talking about, right? Yeah. Find my center, and the fact is that when you're quote unquote centering yourself, you're just bringing your attention towards yourself, towards your inside, right? Mm-hmm. A lot more. You're focusing on your inside, on your body, and your breathing. And once you do that, it's very interesting because you get into the habit of accessing that feeling, that vibe, and it just brings people in, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to when you're constantly looking outside of yourself for approval.
Yeah, absolutely. Just back on the back of what you said there about. So, would martial arts is something that's been involved when you were 13. So prior to this, would you say that it's obviously young men and women developing? Would you say it had a profound impact on your life from then on? Like, were you a different child prior to martial arts, prior to 13, than what you were later on?
Yes and no. I started with this acrobatic style of martial arts, and funny enough, the sign said karate, ninjutsu, aikido, judo, jiu-jitsu. And they were all taught by the same guy.
All right, okay. He must have been some expert.
Yeah, spend a few lifetimes, right? And he was teaching all of them. No, but what we ended up doing was a lot of flicks and acrobatic stuff, and these movies with Jean-Claude Van Damme were popular back then, so we were doing some jump kicks and stuff. But most of them, when I started, we were doing a lot of wrestling and ground fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was interesting. I didn't really change, but once I quit that and I started doing karate, it was more intense. The training was more intense, and then I started feeling a lot more confident, and I became a bit stronger. However, despite the fact that I felt confident inside the school, I was still anxious around people. I still felt that I wasn't good enough, that my opinion wasn't really worth that much around people. So I would say yes and no, right? Some things changed, but some things I still had to learn to manage. Some things I learned to manage much later on in my life.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, the learning aspect of it. What we see doing our gym is progression, not perfection. And listening to the Bogdan, that idea learning, that definitely plugs in here for sure. I like the thought of improving every day, or at least trying to improve. I believe that's what makes us a better human being. But let's talk a wee bit more about the work you do online. Become self-confident, that's what I see, and unleash your power. Tell us more about that philosophy, sir.
Yeah, it starts by looking in the mirror and accepting and liking what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Everything comes from there. Because, no matter how successful you are, no matter how big your business is, if you look in the mirror and you're very critical of yourself, then you're going to find a way to feel miserable.
Sure.
You're going to find a way to lose everything. You're going to find a way, if you're practicing martial arts, you're going to find a way to disappoint yourself, right? And not perform at your highest level for the simple fact that you haven't really learned. And, this is going to sound weird, but it is what it is. Because you haven't really learned how to love who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have a huge critical voice inside of you that's just not letting you enjoy your life, right? So I would say that confidence comes from feeling good about who you are. You notice there's people like, if we talk about dating, for example, right? You see these guys who are, they look excellent, right? They're like super fit, yet they still feel that they're not enough, right? So they're not really that secure. Yet you see these guys who are like a bit overweight, but they're so cool with who they are, right? And they feel so comfortable inside their own skin, and they access that kind of magnetism that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. And we do that a lot. A lot of that comes through Wing Chun concepts, right? Because Wing Chun, we say that it's a principle-based martial art, not so much as a technique martial art.
Right.
So we use these ideas, these philosophies from Wing Chun, and we always draw parallels. Like, okay, so you use this concept in fighting, right? Right now, let's see how you can use this in your day-to-day life. Like for example, this idea of water, right?
I love that, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So water is not something that somebody says, look, this is what you are, and water said, yeah, you know what? I think you're right, I'm not that much, and so on and so forth. Somebody comes, and we were talking about this the other day. Somebody comes to you and says, look, this is how things are, this is how you should do your job, this is where you made a mistake, right? Using the concept of water in that sense does not mean saying, no, you're wrong, right? This is how I did it, and this is the right thing, because you're actually you're fighting basically fire with fire, and just leads to a bigger explosion, right? So you put the fire out by saying, when somebody says this is how you should do it, and this is my way or the highway, you use water by saying, okay, I understand your point of view, and this is basically how I see things, right? So you're being very diplomatic, right? You don't say, I understand your point of view, but, right? Because but cancels everything out, right? So you try to understand that person, you take that person's energy, their opinion, and you turn it around right?
Yeah.
So that you get your point across. And you see that, you cannot see me, but it's like you can do it physically, and it makes a lot of sense, right? And I'm sure you use it in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. When you get the energy, right, you let it go, and then you attack from the side, right?
Yeah, Be Like Water is my favourite T-shirt. I love it though. It's a great philosophy. It's and yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's like it can tie into so many things. You could have someone give you guidance, or even give you flat out instruction, but your interpretation of that is the Be the Water is to okay, I'm not you, the person who's given the orders, but I can receive it and interpret it my own way and flow, just like water does. And yeah, I love that. That's that Bruce Lee philosophy, isn't it? Be like water. It's one of my favourites. It's totally up there, and I use it all the time. And you have those moments with yourself, especially in sparring. I used to be I was a practitioner in Taekwondo for years as well, and I feel it more now in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, maybe because I did that in the sort of as I got older, I guess I got more into grappling, but that sense of I don't need to be the biggest, I don't need to be the strongest, I just need to concentrate on me and play to my strengths. And then it's like anything else. If you can enforce your game or your willpower on someone else, then you can conquer and be the winner. Not that being the winner is the be all and end all, but it certainly brings a smile to your face when you have your hand raised after a contest. I'll say that. Yeah. There's definitely anything but a good feeling on that. Something else though just came to mind when we were discussing the philosophies there, and that something else is diet. Now, I put a post out this week on our page. Some people were telling me how plant-based is there. They encourage that for lean bodies. Some people are gluten-free for inflammation. Some people are dairy-free, or there's lots of different clean living lifestyles out there, if you like. And clean living, when a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition comes up, Bogdan, I'm clean living, and then when the competition is over, I ain't clean living, my friend. I'm alcohol and carbs, and I'm as happy as a pig in shit. Maybe that's the best way to put it. But I'm curious your thoughts on diet and how it plays a part in our lives and human beings, not just as a martial artist, but in everyday life. I'm
not much of an expert in in weight loss, or I'm still working on my six-pack. I never saw it, right? It's like it's starting to take shape, to take form, right? One of my students is a fitness coach as well, so he's helping me out with that. I don't know, it's funny because I have some of my students, right, who would smoke a lot, not necessarily cigarettes, right?
Sure.
And after a few years of training of Wing Chun, they just felt like stopping, right? They didn't need. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I actually, I think it's. I have different opinions, but maybe it's not necessarily the right time to discuss them, right? But they just felt like they wanted to stop smoking, right? And to me, right now, I'm after training and after going through some stages in my life, my body just stopped wanting alcohol.
Sure, yeah.
My body just stopped wanting meat. I can't really explain it, right? And I feel really good about it. I feel really good with that. What I'm playing around with right now is intermittent fasting.
I hear a lot about this. Tell me.
Yeah, so you basically eat for 8 hours a day. You block out 8 hours, depending on what you love more. Like if you love breakfast, then you're probably going to block out the first 8 hours of the day where you can eat.
Right.
And you don't eat for the rest of the 16 hours. But it needs to be like, for example, in my case, I blocked 12 noon until 8 p.m.
Right.
That's when I eat, basically. And, aside from that, I don't eat. Which for me is a huge win, because I couldn't go to bed without eating something, and I couldn't fall asleep without eating something, right? And I'm super proud of myself for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I hear a lot about this intermittent fasting and the benefits of what you feel you have more energy, or what would you, how would you describe benefits from fasting?
I would say, notice that we don't really need to eat that often, right? We don't really need to eat 3 times a day.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? We were always told, growing up, you got to have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it seems like that's an old-fashioned way of thinking now, right?
And it's always overweight people who tell you eat.
Yeah, that's it. I can't argue with that. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. Yeah, that's
exactly. Maybe we should get off. We should get off the pudding a bit.
Yeah, the pudding was quite large. Absolutely, mate. Bogdan, it's been an absolute pleasure having the podcast. I just want to move to the second half of the show here, and we've got a lot of fan questions when people heard you were on, some from Twitter and some from Facebook.
Sure.
Are you all right to hang around and answer our fan questions?
Yeah. Let me just, because I could imagine that a lot of people from the MMA world are listening to the podcast. Wing Chun has gotten a really bad rap lately, and I think it's a huge opportunity for the whole Wing Chun community, right? Because I see a lot of people reevaluating the way they train, the way they teach, and I'm actually very, very happy about it, right? Because we're really, MMA actually did martial arts a huge favor, because we're actually we're becoming a lot more practical with what we're doing, with what we're teaching, right? So I think that's super awesome.
Oh yeah, it's definitely given a spotlight that was never there before. It's a beautiful thing. I'll go to Twitter first, but our first question comes from @Anton BLK, who asks, martial arts can be a great vehicle for improvement, yes, but what about gyms or schools that rule with an iron fist? Some martial arts require you to be a tough guy. Is Wing Chun one of these?
Not where I learned. Actually, there's such a thing called as the Hong Kong style of teaching,
right?
Where people just show up and they do like whatever they feel like doing, more or less, right? So they're more left to their own devices, let's say, and the teacher is only there just to adjust them. And they come in, right? They start doing their forms, they start warming up, and then they choose a partner and they say, okay, let's just learn this, right? So it's a very loose way of teaching. That was actually one of the things that I really enjoyed, because coming from karate, where it's more like you're training for the military, I really enjoyed this loose style of training and teaching. I don't know. I see some teachers who have kids classes, and they're yelling at the kids. You know, I don't have kids, but if I did, I would not let my kids come near to a school like that. I wouldn't let my kids stay close to people like that, right? So I don't really believe in that type of training. It's probably necessary and it's probably functional for the military,
Sure.
But not for, in my opinion, not necessarily for developing self-confidence.
Fair play, mate. Moving on to @else4elf, who says, I keep hearing this 1 to 1 million. Tell us more, and does it work with dollars? I think she's wanting a get rich quick scheme.
Well, yeah, you know, this thing actually popped up into my awareness one night. You know, those kinds of ideas that you just wake up and you have to write down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This was a funny story because I had this thing. I wrote this thing down of, instead of searching and instead of trying to make $1 million, why not help 1 million people, right? And the dollars will take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. I wrote this thing down, and the following morning, I opened Facebook,
mm-hmm.
and like maybe the second or third post was an article about why are we measuring our impact in money instead of measuring our impact in people, you know, in lives inspired and lives taught. So that's basically the idea behind 1 to 1 million, right? It's helping, inspiring people, inspiring the knowledge in people that they are more than they think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope we get you closer to the million with being on the podcast today, mate. We've got @NDRob, who asks, I've seen this one a couple of times, I'll put it to you, mate. Could Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch really kill a man?
No, probably break some ribs, yeah, but not kill a man. Yeah,
I don't think that was part of his teachings to kill your training partner, Rob. So
yeah,
I hope that answers your questions, mate.
It would have to be a man with very thin bones.
Yeah, all they needed was someone to sneeze on him to do him an injury. Exactly. Let's move on. @RabErto196, who says, I love all martial arts. 10 years as a kickboxer/boxer. Did some judo in my time, and more recently now into yoga. Which, in your opinion, Bogdan, is suited to an older gentleman with wrecked knees in his 60s? #martial arts chat.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily be... I wouldn't be fit to recommend anything else because I haven't really experimented with many other types of martial arts, right? But I would say that Wing Chun is definitely a superb way of maintaining your skills in an older age, right? Because it's great for your knees, it's great for your back, mm-hmm. and it's one of those things, just like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? The older you get, the better you get.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Right? I actually interviewed somebody who was a I interviewed somebody from my podcast who was teaching Muay Thai, right? And he met this Wing Chun teacher, and the Wing Chun guy just kicked his ass.
It's interesting when you get those clash of styles, yeah, because people have preconceived notions of, well, this guy is going to, I love seeing those play out. Yeah, those are brilliant. Those are fascinating. An eye-opener for sure.
Yeah, and he was like, oh my God, they have to learn Wing Chun now.
yeah, exactly, right. Put this in the repertoire. Let's take some from Facebook then before we wrap up. I've got Colin Murray asking you, I read somewhere that Wing Chun is the most recent of all Chinese martial arts. How do you think it compares to perhaps some more ancient styles? I didn't know this. I thought there was just one style. Is Wing Chun a recent form, is it?
I think it became popular a lot more recently. It became popular definitely in Hong Kong with the help. It was already popular. That's why Bruce Lee started, right? It was the number one martial art in Hong Kong.
I see.
That's why he chose Wing Chun. However, Wing Chun was designed to cope against, be super efficient against traditional martial arts. Right, so it is designed with that aspect in mind. But this was happening. Let's say how many? I have no idea how many years ago. It was happening when let's say when Bruce Lee was young, right? However, when Bruce Lee moved to the States, he discovered that, okay, I can add a cross, I can add I can add this, I can take this out, and he basically adjusted it to the standards of Western martial arts, if we can include boxing into that, right? Which is awesome, and I see that today as well with Wing Chun practitioners. They're keeping the heart of Wing Chun. They're just adding or adjusting elements that would help you better cope with today's challenges, right? That's basically what I know. I wouldn't be able to tell you a lot more because I wasn't there when obviously when Wing Chun was created.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I can just tell you the stories that I know, right?
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. We'll take one more. We've got Pamela Soren. She's asking a pretty redundant question, I would have thought, but I'll ask it anyway, Pamela. Will getting involved in Wing Chun make me a better human being?
Depends on what you understand to be a better human being, right? Depends on what a human being is to you, first of all, right?
Yes.
And it depends on what do you understand to be improvement in your life, right? Because improvement might be having a better financial situation, right? Or improvement might be being more empathic or kinder to people. It really comes down to knowing what you want from your life, what do you feel is missing, right? And identifying the people that can help you get there faster. What Wing Chun can do for you, it will, like as a woman, it will allow you to integrate masculine energy a lot more easily, so you will better understand the men around you. Like a woman, let's say that you're more in your feminine energy, right? We're talking about masculinity and femininity. It will help you become more balanced in that sense, and as a man, it will help you understand a lot more feminine energy, which means you have a better relationship with, of course, with the women in your life, and you'll have a better relationship with change in your life, right? With things that you cannot necessarily manage, what you need to accept and be part of and go with the flow, right? So you become a lot more adaptable, you become a lot more sensitive in the sense that you're aware of your surroundings, both outside of your surroundings, outside of yourself, and you're more aware of who you are, right? Just to make sure, if you go to a Wing Chun school, right, make sure that these guys are sparring, because a lot of Wing Chun schools prefer not to spar, which in my opinion is a huge mistake, right? Make sure that they are testing their skills and they have a bit of power inside their hands, right? Yeah, that's what I would say. And of course their legs.
Excellent stuff. Bogdan, it's been an absolute pleasure to get your time here on the podcast. I just want to give you the floor here, sir. If you want to give a shout out or a plug to your channels, to your pages, your blogs, all that kind of stuff, mate, let our listeners know where they can check your work out online, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. they can get more in touch with me on my website bogdanrosu.biz, and they can definitely check out our podcast, the Personal Development Through Martial Arts podcast, and they find me on YouTube and Instagram. And Instagram is a lot more, it is where I post most of my daily routines and shenanigans.
I need to get on that. I'm not on Instagram. Everybody's telling me you need to do it.
It's fun, yeah. It's fun.
I'm just not up for taking pictures. Like I said at the top of the show, I'm not as handsome as you, mate, but maybe I can get a model to fill in from
That's
that.
debatable. I'm sure your viewers have a very different opinion. I would ask them that question.
We'll put a poll out. There we go. This week. Excellent stuff, mate. Bogdan Rosu, thank you so much for your time, mate, and we'll catch up again soon, bro.
Likewise. Have a great day.